When you're watching Finding Nemo. This movie was so much better than I remembered. Oh my goodness. It feels like every single scene, every single moment is beautifully executed, and it felt like there was no lagging. If anything, it felt like certain things were just picking up fast. You know what I mean? The plot was moving really quickly, in my opinion, and I liked it. I really liked it. It felt like such a refreshing take on things because usually like things take so much build up, but in this movie like it just felt so effortless. It felt so easy. Like there was a time in the story where Dory's getting directions on how to get to Sydney, and she's talking to those shiny fish that are like doing the impressions or stuff like that. Like they were turning into different things or whatever. And they tell her like when you get up to this trench, go through it, not over it. And then immediately, like 2 seconds later, she shows up at the trench, and it feels like, oh wow, that just, you know what I mean? Like usually, they would swim for a little bit, maybe do a little dialogue, and then they would come up to the trench. Whereas in this one, it was like when you get to the trench, go through it, not over it, and it made it feel like it was going to take a little bit of time, but it was literally right there. So they get to it, and Marlon obviously wants to go over, and she wants to go through it, whatever. Um, oh man, immediately this movie just kicks off. It hits all of the right notes. It just gets you invested early on. It shows you a beautiful couple in a new neighborhood, or they just bought a house or whatever, you know what I mean? They found a new place. And it's exciting, it's young, it's beautiful. It's Marlon and his wife and their 400 eggs about to become parents. Like, you feel immediately connected to these people. It's like, oh, that's so cute. That's so beautiful to see them like they're just about to get become a mother and a father, And then terror strikes, and immediately it just shows you how dangerous the ocean is and how how evil it can be, how it just there's no it's not all easy going, you know what I mean? It's not all cute little reefs and stuff and colorful fishes. It's barracudas, it's sharks, it's all of these other different things. And we see the horror that comes with Marlon losing Coral and losing his kids, and he's all alone. And man, the level of grief it must have taken. The blue ocean suddenly becomes gray. It's so dark and it's so empty. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't feel like a glass half full. It feels like a half glass empty. You know what I'm saying? So immediately we see Marlon dealing with his grief, and it's just hitting him now. But he finds a small, small orb of hope. He sees an egg, and he names it Nemo. And immediately we get to see like, oh, this is Nemo. He's just a kid, you know what I mean? And he's getting ready for school, and we see how Marlon has now is overprotective as a father. He's overprotective as a parent, become a helicopter parent, and he's very protective of Nemo, and he's like, well, be aware of your surroundings, swim, you're not that great of a swimmer, you have a bad fin and all these other things. And it's a natural understanding as a parent to be that way, for him to feel that way, especially towards Nemo, especially after Coral passed away, you know what I mean, not knowing what happened. Nemo not knowing what happened, but Marlon knowing exactly what happened. And it feels like in that moment you understand both of them. You understand how Marlon is very protective and very much like, I don't want to lose my son to the ocean. It's dangerous. It's scary, and when I'm not in control, bad things happen. And then Nemo is embarrassed. Nemo is it feels insecure maybe about his bad fin, and he feels inadequate. He doesn't feel like his dad trusts him or gives him any kind of proper credit to understand that, like, hey, I can do things. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm capable. You have to give me the opportunity to try. And it's embarrassing in front of other kids and other people when he starts belittling you or starts treating you like you can't do things. You know what I'm saying? He just now it's different when obviously they're doing things that are wrong. You know what I'm saying? but it's more so like Nemo's rebellion against Marlin and touching the butt, touching the boat, is more of like just a standing to let him to show him like, hey, I can do things, and I'm not the helpless fish you may think I am. And in that moment, like Nemo won the argument or like the discourse, but he was still going to be in trouble. If the movie played out like the normal way, it's that Nemo would have proven to Marlin that he can touch the boat or he can swim and he's a good swimmer. And then what's it called? And then Marlin would have, obviously been angry. He would have been upset, and maybe Nemo would have been held back a year or so. But I think ultimately, like, Nemo proves himself, but he still gets in trouble. So Marlin kind of wins. But obviously that's not how things play out. Nemo gets taken and by scuba divers, and I love the thing that where they pull out the camera and they take a picture of Marlin and the flash is like blinds him and he's like, what's going on? Like that feels so natural to me. Like I was like, how does he not go after Nemo or join him, and that's how they blind him. And he's like distraught and like scared at the same time. He doesn't understand what's happening. So anyways, Nemo gets taken and Marlin is trying to catch up to the boat. And we see he is chasing after them, but the boat is too quick and then he starts losing him. And man, that was such a great moment where Marlin is like chasing him and the music, like that's cinema. That is so cinema. Every single piece of that, where we see it from his perspective of like he's swimming, he's trying to follow the bubbles of the boat, but the boat's too quick and he misses it, and then they slowly dissipate and you don't know if they turn left, they turn right, if they're still going straight, and even if he did go straight, it's like at some point or another they're going to be gone. So like where does he even go from there? You know what I'm saying? So he's swimming after them and then the music starts hitting you and it's building up this anxiety of like, oh no, where is he? Where's Nemo? What's going on? Which way did they go? Which direction? It's a big ocean. He can't see everything. So it's like, no. And we just see a clownfish poke his head over the water. And he's like, where did they go? Where did they go? And he's screaming for Nemo. And then he goes underwater to breathe. I thought that was also a great thing, where he pokes his head out and then he goes underwater and then he comes back up. Ah, man, that was such a great bit. And you can feel the loneliness of the ocean. It's just him out there. And he's just like trying to find somebody to help him out. And then eventually he bumps into Dory, and that's where the story really takes off. But it happened so quick, that same day he bumps into Dory and he's like, hey, have you seen a boat? And then Dory, we learn about her and her short-term memory loss. We see the sharks. I just feel like the way that they carry the seriousness and balance it with the comedic or the kind of funny. Like, it's not funny that Nemo got taken and Marlin is searching for him. His son is literally gone, you know what I mean? Marlin has every right to be frustrated, confused, angry, really pleading for his life, for his son's life here. He doesn't know what's going to happen. He doesn't even know if he's ever going to see him again, but he just wants to catch up to them, and if anybody can help him out. So from his perspective, it's like, this is an emergency. Like, we need to get this going now, And then he meets Dory, who's very ditzy, very colorful, very fun, very in the moment, which I really like. But that's how they balance it out. And then they put them straight to the danger zone where the shark shows up and is looking for fish. And I love it. I thought that it was great to make the shark Australian. Bruce is his name. I don't know the actor's name. Fantastic job, great voice. It really suits the character. I thought it was really cool. And so anyways, throws them straight to the sharks right at the beginning of the film. And then they go to a party. They go to like a little mining field underwater in a submarine. And so we find out that these sharks, why they don't like automatically just kill Marlin and Dory, is because they're trying to be like, we're good sharks. You know what I mean? We think fish are friends, not food. And I thought that was a funny little like, kind of like a AA meeting, but like for sharks of like I haven't eaten a fish in however long or whatever, and I think that's funny. Knowing that it's going to be a repetitive cycle, knowing that the sharks are going to continue to eat fish because they have to. It's literally their diet. But then also understanding that it's like they're trying to compensate for the guilt by being a part of a community of fish or of good sharks. So, anyways, we see Marlin is what's it called? He's there at the shark meeting or whatever, and he finds the mask that one of the scuba divers was wearing, and maybe that can lead to Nemo. And then, things lead from one thing to another. The mask hits Dory in the face and she starts bleeding. And then Bruce gets a whiff of that blood and automatically he goes into kill mode and he's like, I gotta eat some fish. So then they get into the chase, and I just feel like that was just such a brilliant way to get him to snap, you know what I mean? He's a friendly shark. He's not, if he wanted to eat Dory, he would have done so earlier. But then, just smelling her blood, it starts coming after him. So, the whole sequence, the chase sequence, I thought was really fun. Them using the mask as kind of like a car, you know what I mean? Like, so they can swim side by side together. That way they don't split up or do other things. They use the mask as kind of like, being chased in like a car and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Where they got the clear glass in front of them and they're trying to swim here, there, left, right, and other ways. So anyways, really, really fun sequence. And then we find out that Dory can read, and one thing leads to another. They get the mask, Dory can read, and they need to figure out where they're going. So now, the shark Bruce gets like a missile from the submarine. He gets it stuck in his mouth, and then he like throws it, or a torpedo or whatever, and he throws it into the mining field. And as soon as it touches it, it blows up, and that's the end of that. Dory and Marlin get away, and so then after in the aftermath of the explosion, I guess the submarine kind of got blown away, like over a trench or whatever. And in the I guess the morning after their meeting or the party or whatever, Dory and Marlin fall asleep, and then they drop the mask into the trench, and they have to go down there, and that's where Dory does the just keep swimming, swim, swim. Great bit, great song. I thought that was really great. That was really cute. And then they do, what's it called? They go down, they swim down into the darkness, and they see the, oh my gosh, what's it called? That fish with the light. It's an ankler fish? I forget what it's called. Great use of the deep ocean and like that kind of stuff. And they do the light thing, and they do the conscience bit. I thought that was really funny. It's your conscience. We don't talk a lot these days. I thought that was really funny. And a great bit that they do there. And then also Marlin getting chased by the fish, and Dory trying to use the light to read and stuff. I thought that was really funny. So all of that whole sequence was really good. And then we see Dory read it, and she remembers it. She remembers the address. So now they're in it together. Now they're swimming together. Now they're going to take on the world together. They get out of the trench, they swim back up, and they start going to Sydney. And I don't remember if that's when they meet those fish, like that group of fish that does the impressions, or if it was after that. No, I do think they were trying to find directions or something like that. And then Dory starts being annoying, I think, and then Marlin's like, all right, let me do this by myself. But then the Dory starts crying, and then the other fish take her side. Anyways, they talk to those guys, and they tell them to go to the EAC and stuff. And then they go to the trench, and then they swim over, and they do the jellyfish bit. The jellyfish bit was great. Jellyfish was absolutely colorful. I thought it was fun. I thought that I thought that it was a pretty good lesson and for Marlin and the trip to trust Dory and his friends and his family and his son, especially because like one, yes, they were having fun, and the moment Marlin lets loose, like he goes out and he has like a fun time, like it goes wrong and Dory gets hurt, and he's like, oh man, like darn it, I put us in the situation, no matter how fun it was or how good it was or how Dory messed up. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't deny that he put her in that situation in the first place. And while Marlin got out okay, Dory did get hurt. So it's like, if it is a guilt thing, a blame thing. So, anyways, he gets Dory from out of there, and then the Crush, the turtle, saves them, which was also great. And they start riding the EAC together. They start hanging out, and I just love that whole bit. And Marlin tells a story to the turtles, and then the word spreads out quick. The turtles tell the other fishes, they tell the other lobsters and crustaceans, and then they tell the birds, and then the birds tell each other, and then they go all the way to Australia, and they figure out like, this is the situation. This is somebody who's doing anything to get to his son. And then we cut over to Nemo. I mean, we've been cutting over to Nemo. I've just skipped over that part. Nemo's journey inside of this kind of safe fish tank is... Nemo being in the fish tank is kind of exactly what Marlin wants for him. He kind of wants Nemo to be in a box. He kind of wants him safe and protected away from the dangers of the ocean. You know what I'm saying? Like, the dangers of the ocean are so vast. There are so many ways a fish can die or get killed out there that Marlin is trying to, like, keep Nemo in a box, And the whole time that Nemo is trying to escape, it's him gaining independence. It's him growing up. It's him realizing that I can't rely on Dad for everything anymore. There are things that I can do, and this is my chance to prove it. This is my opportunity to show that, hey, I am capable. I can do it. And that's something that Gil and all the other fish allow him. They give him, And I like that. I thought that was really cool. So, overall, we see Nemo meeting the new fish, him gaining the strength to, like, do things on his own, the capability to do things. We see him get initiated, which was also really funny. And then, obviously, the plan when things go wrong and things get dangerous, it's like some people who have been caged up for so long are, like, willing to use anybody to get what they want, And that's what Gil was feeling in that moment, is that, like, I was so ready for myself to get out there. I was willing to sacrifice you, and that wasn't right. And when Nemo finally gets word that, his dad's coming for him, that Marlin's on the way for him, he starts taking action. He's like, I can't die in this box. I can't be a present to anybody. I have to get out. So he executes the plan, and it's just another example of, like, he can do it. He is capable. So then, what's it called? I'm blanking. Then the bird comes over. What's it called? Nigel? The bird comes over, and he tells Nemo about his dad and what he's done and stuff like that. And Nemo's ready to get out there, so they dirty up the tank, knowing that the dentist is going to have to clean it out. And once they get put into those fish baggies, they can go into the ocean and escape. And so Marlin and Dory then arrive at their exit on the EAC, and we see that what's it called? He asks Crush how old he is, 150 and still young. I thought that was a great moment as well. Also, Marlin seeing how Crush parents his kids, that was also a great moment where we see how Crush just lets Squirt do things on his own, knowing that, let's see what he does, you know what I mean? Let's see how he handles this situation. And if he does need help, obviously Crush was going to go out there and help him, but, like, let's see what he can do. And then when he does it, he's met with praise, and it's really cool. It's really comforting. And Marlin is kind of like, how do you know when to like give him that freedom, to give him that opportunity to figure it out on his own? You know what I mean? He's like, you don't know, but when they figure it out, when they step up for themselves, then you'll know that they can handle it. So it's kind of that unknown territory of like, when do I give them the option to handle this as opposed to me doing it myself? You know what I'm saying? So, anyways, Marlin and Dory get out, but now they're just in the vast ocean and they don't know what direction to take. So, Dory finds a whale and starts speaking whale. And it's so funny. And I thought that was another great bit. And they get taken by the whale, who probably heard the story, who knows who they are, and takes them to Sydney. And when they were swimming in the whale's mouth, the whole time I was just thinking to myself, like, bro, like they're swimming in his saliva. You know what I'm saying? I was just like, it's a little gross, but at the same time I was like, it's just water, right? Like, how much gross can it be compared to like what else is in the ocean? You know what I'm saying? So I thought that was a good bit. And it's also kind of just like another moment of being trapped, of feeling trapped. I think Marlin is feeling exhausted and tired and put down, and he's just forced to like deal with these issues of being a father, deal with these issues of letting go of control. He doesn't know that the whale is going to take him exactly where he needs to be, but because he doesn't trust Dory, he doesn't trust the whale. He doesn't trust anybody. And Dory is having a good old time, and she's just trying to figure out, like, you got to let loose, let go. Stop being in control. Look at where we are. This is a fun place. This whale hasn't swallowed us. He hasn't eaten us. We're okay. Like, what could be better than right now in this moment? And so, eventually the whale is like, all right, let's get out of here. It's time to go. And we see that the water starts going down, and it's the whale getting ready to like burst or go back up to the surface and blow up all of the water inside so it can breathe. And it lifts up its tongue, and Dory is immediately like, all right, I gotta let go. And Marlin's like, whoa, 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 what do you think you're doing? It's like, what are you doing? And she's like, it's time to let go. And he's like, what are you talking about? Are you crazy? She's like, it's gonna be okay. And he's like, what if you're wrong? What if you know something bad isn't gonna happen? And she's like, I don't. And Marlin trusts her, and finally they let go. And they go down, and then they get blown out of the whale hole, and they end up exactly where they need to be. And Marlin says thank you, and now they're in Sydney. So now it's just a race to find Nemo. And early in the morning, Marlin and Dory get swallowed by a pelican, and Marlin's like refusing it. He's like, I didn't come this far to be breakfast, So it was just it was showing the fight that he has in him, you know what I mean? Because before he got swallowed by the whale, he had like, I don't want to say given up, but it's more so like, it wasn't like necessarily a threat, but now it's like, no, we're seeing this through to the end, Before he couldn't like fight the whale, now he's given a chance to fight, I guess. I don't know, it's just a good struggle. Anyways, he starts fighting the pelican, and he's trying to get out of there, and Nigel finds him. He helps him out, and they're immediately met by all those seagulls, and they're just going, mine. Just such a great, annoying antagonist, you know what I mean? And we see Nigel help them out, and they swim, and he picks them up in his mouth, and he starts flying with them with water, and he takes them over to the dentist's office where Nemo is, and that's when Darla shows up. And what's it called? The tank is filthy, but he replaces the filter with like this new Aqua Scum 2.0 or whatever it's called. And so the tank is now clean, and Nemo's about to get bagged up for Darla, but the other fish are like, how can we save him? You know what I mean? How can we figure this out? It's getting a little too close for comfort, and Nemo gets bagged up anyways, and he tries to roll out the window, but he gets put into a tray, and Nemo plays dead, pretending so that way Darla doesn't take interest in him. And the dentist is kind of like, oh, it's dead, it died, oh no. Well, I can't give it to Darla now. And they think he's going to flush Nemo, but he's actually going to put Nemo in the trash, which is no good for anybody. So then, in that moment, Marlin and Dory and Nigel show up at the dentist office, and immediately, like, he thinks Nemo, well, no, he's like, Nemo is in the bag that the dentist has. He has to get in there and do it. And so Nigel goes into the office and starts going crazy, and he throws Nemo, and it lands on the thing, and he realizes that, well, Nemo's playing dead, but he doesn't know Nemo's playing dead. He thinks he's actually dead. And so he's like, there's this pause. He's like, Nemo. And then all hell breaks loose. Nigel gets like pushed out, and Nemo kind of wakes up. But then Darla notices that Nemo's awake and starts shaking the bag. So then they start doing the ring of fire, so that way they shoot Gil out, and he gets into her hair, and she starts going crazy. She starts freaking out. And then finally, Nemo pops, and it gets flushed down the drain, and he's out there, you know? Which was a great moment, you know what I mean? For Gil to save Nemo, and then for the dentist to kind of put Gil back. I thought that was a good moment, a great act of heroism, you know what I mean? Where he himself is selfless, and he gives it up his chance to escape to help Nemo escape, you know what I'm saying? So anyways, Gil and Nemo escape. Nemo escapes. He's flushed down the drain, and he's gonna get out. But Marlin, he's done. He saw Nemo dead, and it's over. He wants to go home, and I don't know what to do with his life. But now it's all over. And Dory is like trying so desperately to hang on, trying so desperately to be like, this whole journey we've been together, like, I've never had anybody who's stood out, you know, been this long with me, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of like I've done things on my own. I don't know what to do, you know? And when we're together, I remember things better, and I don't want to forget meeting you, our whole adventure together. When I look at you, I remember everything, you know? And Marlin is just so defeated. He's so upset to have come all this way and for his son to be dead. It's just too late, you know? And he's like, I want to forget. I wish I could forget. I'm going home. And he swims away. And then Nemo pops up. Nemo makes it out. And so Dory is just kind of like, what do I do now? Where do I go? What's happening? Where am I? Where, you know, all these questions in her head. And Nemo finds her, and he's like, hey, can you help me look for my dad? He should be here in the harbor somewhere. And she's like, okay, well, what's your name? And he's like, I'm Nemo. She's like, that's a nice name. I thought that was funny. That was a good bit. And then finally, she reads Sydney, and it all comes flooding back. The mask, the sharks, the jellyfish, the sea turtles, the whale, all of it comes flooding back to her, and she remembers who Nemo is and what he means to Marlin. And she's like, I got you. We got to get your dad. He was just here. And so I like when Dory gets badass and she's like talking to the crabs. She's like, have you seen the other fish? It looks just like him, but bigger, you know what I mean? He's like, yeah, I saw him, but I'm not going to tell you where he went, and there's nothing you can do to make me. And then she lifts him up to where the seagulls can see him, and they would eat him alive. And he's just like, okay, I'll talk. Just get me out of here, please. So then they go chasing after Marlin, and oh my goodness, the reunion. Nemo and Dory finally catch up, and they're like, Marlin, and they're like, Dad! And Marlin turns around and he's like, what? And Dory's like, Nemo's alive! Dad! And then Marlin sees Nemo. He's like, Nemo? Nemo! Nemo! And you see them swimming towards each other. Oh my goodness. The catharsis. Oh my goodness. It felt so good. It felt like that reunion was so special. It was so beautiful. It was so much build up to that moment where before there was no hope. Before, when his wife died, there was nothing, you know. He called out to Coral and she didn't respond back. Silence is the worst thing, you know. But the fact that he actually had his son, ah, man, that's just such a beautiful moment. And I was watching it, I was choking up at it. I was just like, oh my gosh, that's so beautiful. Yeah, I think there was a tear in my eye. Oh my gosh, it was so good. It was so good. And gosh, it was, what a powerful moment. Just, that was everything that we wanted in that movie. But it's not over yet. They're in the fishing grounds. So we see all of the fish getting put up into the net, and we see Dory get caught into the net. And now we're trying to figure out, like, oh my gosh, she's stuck in there. We're done for. You know what I mean? What are we gonna do? And so Nemo's like, I know what we have to do. Tell everybody to swim down, because they seen it done before with Gil and the others, where I think the dentist was trying to get Nemo in the net, and they all jump into the net and they swim down, and it gets him out of the situation. But then he immediately bags him up. So Nemo knows what they have to do: swim all the way down, and they'll get out of it, you know. But Marlin's like, whoa, 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 you're not going. I can't lose you again. He's like, Dad, you have to let me go. I can do this. Trust me. And Marlin, the whole story was building up to this moment of letting go, of getting out of control, of trusting other people. And he trusts his son, and he wants to save Dory. So when people work together, good things happen. And we see them go like, all right, you heard my son, swim down. And they start swimming down, and it immediately looks like they're not going to have much success. But then they go from being above the water to then going down into the water, which I thought was a great build-up moment of like, oh, progress, you know what I'm saying? They break the net of the boat, all the fish go free, Dory and Nemo are out, and everybody's okay, you know? Everybody made it. And so then we see the end of the movie, how everything is now completely changed. Instead of Nemo being like, get up for school, it's now Marlin who's excited to let Nemo go out and have fun, to go out and have an adventure, to make friends, to do this, to do that, you know? And that's the joy. That's the 180 that the movie was building up to. It's now no longer Marlin afraid of letting go or being in control. It's allowing things to happen. And after this whole journey, there's nobody who can doubt what he won't do for his son. There's nobody who can, after everybody saw it, you know what I mean? Everybody saw those divers. Everybody saw Nemo get taken. Everybody saw Marlin and knows the story. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you can't question his dedication. You can't question that he can get it done. He can get it done no matter what. You know what I'm saying? So that also adds confidence to him, is that like, even at the worst thing that could possibly happen to Nemo has already happened. And I got him back, and I can do it again if need be. You know what I'm saying? If I had to, if I really had to. But overall, man, it's just so beautiful to see the journey that he goes on as Marlin. You know what I mean? We start the journey with him, you know, going from a husband to a father to losing his son and his wife, then losing his son, but getting his son back after growing and evolving and gaining friendships and going out into the ocean and experiencing what it really is out there, you know? It's so great, man. And it's just a great example of like, you got to get out there, you know? You got to get out there and see for yourself and experience it for yourself, you know? Nobody's saying it's not comfortable in your home, or it's not comfortable where you live or in your city and stuff like that. But when you get out there and you see how big everything else is, or what kind of adventures you can go on, or the kind of things you can do out there, That's when you start building up experience. You start building up confidence. You start seeing that like certain things are not in your control, and you're gonna have to live with that. You're gonna have to deal with those things. But overall, in the grand scheme of it all, it's just such a this is such a perfect movie for families to watch. It has the right level of comedy. It has the right level of color and pop to it for kids. It has the right amount of adversity and struggle, and it just tackles so many great themes for kids and adults. And there's something for everybody to love about this movie. It's universally like one of the best, you know, family movies or parental movies that you could ever have. So, overall, when you're watching Finding Nemo, I mean, there's just enjoy it. That's the best I got. Is that like, no matter how you watch it, you get to see everybody's perspective, everybody's point of view. You get to see how things are from Marlin, how things are for Nemo, how they both grow, and how when they finally come back together and they reunite with one another, you know, they're at the best place in their relationship, you know. And then Gil and the others escape the fish tank, and they're in the bags and stuff in the ocean, and they don't know what to do next. So I think that's funny. Anyways, man, what a great movie. I love this movie. It's a great movie. Genuinely one of those movies that's like all around just fantastic. Pure, great cinema, in my opinion. Everybody at Pixar who worked on this were working. You know what I mean? They really did their thing with this movie. So, shout out to them. Great movie. Highly recommend it. Spoilers. You shouldn't be listening to this if you haven't watched it, but yeah, great movie. Anyways, that's all I got. When you're watching Finding Nemo, just take it all in and see how you can apply it to what you're struggling with what you're facing. I'm sure you'll come away with learning a little bit more about yourself and about what you can do to improve. So, anyways, thank you guys so much for listening. I'll talk to you guys all next time. Thank you.